Testing. Testing. Shit. Hello? Testing. Testing. Hello? All right, everybody. Since I started doing these shows again, I have lost approximately 12 subscribers. So please, let's not stop there. Can we hit 15 today? Can we hit minus 15 today? Is that possible? Could we achieve such a tremendous height of minus 15? We're already on minus 12. Minus 15. All right. We're doing a show today. Today's actually going to be a real show. I know yesterday was also a very real show, but today's going to be an even realer show. So, welcome. Thank you for tolerating my goofballish behavior. I appreciate that. Or not, or maybe you didn't. I don't know. I lost 12 subscribers in the last 4 days. So, but hopefully we can hit 15 lost subscribers today, and we'll see. Today we're going to be covering the news. I might do a little bit of a longer than average show today here. I'm not sure. You know, I might also speak at like Ben Shapiro rates, so it might be half the average show as well. Really kind of it depends. But we're doing a show. It's currently 12:30 on the eastern seaboard of the United States of America. It's 12:38 on the eastern seaboard of the United States of America. However, it is not 12:38 on the eastern seaboard of Canada because what is it? I think it's Labrador. Those fuckers. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, doing a show today. This is the last day before the election. Now, obviously, I voted yesterday, and so I don't need to worry about leaving the house tomorrow. However, if you're leaving the house tomorrow, I would highly recommend you pack a bulletproof vest. I would highly recommend you potentially, I don't know, just saying wear steel underwear. Just saying you might want to protect that region. Because there's all kinds of shit going around at polling places. And tomorrow, I think it's going to get real bad. So I've got this, there's an article that I've got. It's not mine, but I do have it. From theguardian.com. Actually, I think it's .org. No, it's .com. And let's check this out. Bomb threats, ballot box arson, a timeline of U.S. election violence. All right. In the last week, the United States saw numerous attacks on the voting process and threats of violence and extremism. Experts are bracing for what comes after voting has ended. Now, real quick, I want to give you my conspiracy theory for tomorrow. Anybody doing election violence at an early voting location is the lowest IQ among people that will do political violence. If you're going to engage in political violence, right, if you do that on early voting, guess what? They're just going to early vote again the next day, or mail in a ballot, or the next day. So I think a lot of the violent folks are going to wait until election day, because if you can commit violence at a polling place and shut down voters from voting or scaring voters away from standing in line, they can't come back tomorrow, right? So again, I am very concerned that shit's going to go down tomorrow, and that's why I voted before tomorrow, because I'm not going outside tomorrow. Well, let's keep going here. The goal of people committing these acts was often to create fear and distrust around voting or to sabotage the functioning of democracy. Now, of course, we don't live in a democracy. We never have lived in a democracy. A democracy is one person, one vote with an electoral college system that is null and void. And also, you know, black people weren't allowed to vote for an extended period of time. Women weren't allowed to vote for an extended period of time. So we don't actually live in a democracy. By the literal definition of the word, it's not real. However, you know, again, you know, we're in like a democracy in quotes. You know, lowercase democracy. You know, maybe we could just say it's democracy or demcry. You know, one letter short of an actual democracy. Well, it's actually a lot of letters short. But anyway, that's a side tangent. Still, election officials stress that voting is safe. And voters should not be deterred from voting because of any threats to the process, which are rare. Now, they were rare in 2012, they were rare in 1988. They are not rare anymore, right? So again, when an election official is saying, actually, it's totally safe and you won't be injured at all, when there's stories upon stories upon stories of people getting injured or threatened, right? They're obviously lying, right? I don't know why election officials wouldn't just tell you ways you can keep yourself safe or ways that they're going to upgrade security at polling locations instead of just lying to you and saying, don't worry, man, nothing to be concerned about because we live in Fuckville and there's a lot of shit to be concerned about, if you ask me, personally. But not very many people ask me. Here's a timeline of political violence seen so far during the voting period in the US. Arizona mass casualty planned. Jeffrey Michael Kelly, not to be confused with the actor, was arrested in Arizona on 23rd October after a series of violent incidents. Authorities say Kelly had amassed an arsenal of weapons and ammunition and was believed to be preparing to commit an act of mass casualty. Kelly is alleged to have shot a Democratic Party campaign office 3 times since September, once with a BB gun and twice with a firearm, resulting in the closure of the office. He has also allegedly put signs outside his home affixed with razor blades and baggies of unspecified white powder. Again, logically, if you want to impact voting in the United States, you would wait until Election Day, right? So again, I am going to say that these are the lowest IQ of the right-wing political violent groups in the United States. These are the dumbest people, are the ones doing all this stuff beforehand, right? Let's just be honest. Also, a lot of these are lone actors. There are plenty of militias and paramilitary groups in the United States. And again, they haven't really done too much yet. So I don't know, man. I'm more worried about them than a bunch of lone actors. But let's read some more from The Guardian. MAGA hat fight. A man voting early at San Antonio polling place on 24 October allegedly assaulted a poll worker after he was told twice to remove a Make America Great Again hat because political clothing is not allowed at the polls in Texas. A 69-year-old poll worker asked 63-year-old Jesse Lusbach to take off the MAGA hat as he entered the polling place, which he did initially. VoteBeat reported, but he allegedly put it back on inside. Whoa. This is a renegade. This guy doesn't follow the rules. Leading to a poll worker to tell him again it was not allowed at that point. Allegedly tangled with the poll worker and, quote, threw several punches right at the face of the victim, a sheriff's report said. Very stable individuals. And again, these are the lone actors. These in this instance, this is some guy who maybe planned to get into a fight, but didn't really plan it any further than that. They didn't bring guns. They didn't bring other sorts of weapons. They just wanted to be a jackass and beat the shit out of someone and cause a bunch of chaos, right? And again, these are the lone actors. The lone actors are the dumbest. They're the least organized. Again, I am very worried about the groups that brought bombs and guns on January 6th And a lot of those were not charged. The Oath Keepers, for example, some of them did, but not all of them. I'm more worried about those groups. But hey, let's keep going. Pennsylvania bomb threat. Edward Jr. of Philadelphia was charged on 30 October for threatening to blow up a Republican office in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Whoa. Anti-Republican violence? Police allege he called the office on 26 October and spoke to a worker there. After the worker said he was a Republican, Sierra called him a name. And then the worker mocked Sierra, according to NBC affiliate in Philadelphia. Sierra, upset, allegedly told the worker that he would put one in your head, shoot up the place, and blow it up. Now, is that a Democrat? Possibly. However, it's more likely to be, let's be honest, one of the Groyper type people who are very upset with the Republican Party. Now, again, I feel like if it were an actual Democrat, they would have said something along the lines of that. The right would have been parroting this stuff nonstop over the mainstream media. So, again, I'm just going to assume it's not a Democrat. But even if it is, hey, it's kind of fucked up. You don't want to do that, right? Keep going. Ballot box arson. The person behind burning hundreds of ballots with incendiary devices in 2 ballot drop boxes in Oregon and Washington is suspected to be a metal worker who could be planning more attacks. They don't even got this guy yet. The devices used were marked with the words "Free Gaza," but it is not yet clear to authorities if the person who set the devices had grievances related to the Gaza war or if it was a tactic to sow confusion. Now, again, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are juicing, spending millions of dollars on Jill Stein ads in swing states, on pretending to care about the genocide in Gaza. They are spending millions of dollars. So again, if you're a Republican trying to get Trump elected, one of the best ways to do that is to manipulate the stupider people among the left. The dummies, the morons that are willing to vote for Jill Stein because they think that somehow that's going to change the world. A fire in a drop box in Vancouver, Washington on 28 October set ablaze hundreds of ballots. Which, now, can we talk about this, without sounding a little too conspiratorial? What's going on with ballot drop boxes? Like, I mean, it is a little strange. Let's be honest here. I'm just saying, it's fucking weird that we have ballot on, like, the sidewalk. Really? Really? But hey, maybe we shouldn't be asking questions about that. I don't want to get lumped in with anyone else, right? But it is a little weird that we just, we just throw that kind of stuff on a sidewalk, on a box on a sidewalk without any sort of protection or security. A little strange. And I'm also going to go ahead and say this. If you are putting your ballot in a ballot drop box after this article comes out, you might have an IQ problem. I'm just saying, if you have a car, drive to the fucking, clerk's office or whatever and drop it at the building. If you don't have a car, mail it. I don't know, man. I'm just saying ballot boxes, hey, I don't agree with them as a concept. I think it's a little weird, especially in the current era. A previous fire at a U.S. Postal Service box in Phoenix, Arizona also damaged ballots, though the suspect arrested in that instance said he did not set the fire for any political purpose and instead was trying to be arrested. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Wow. Hey, totally not political. Totally not political. It's not me. Machete at the polls. Hot off the presses here. An 18-year-old in Neptune Beach, Florida. Is it Neptune Beach or Crystal Lake, Florida? Allegedly waved a machete at voters at an early voting location on 29 October. Police said a group of young men, the worst thing you could imagine, in groups, no less, were at the polling place protesting with Trump flags. And one of them had a machete, according to Action News Jax. An older woe man said the man had the machete raised above his head when he approached her, creating fear. Now, I don't know about that. Creating fear? Creating fear? I don't know if creating fear is the best way to interpret that, right? If someone comes at you swinging a motherfucking machete, fear is one thing on my list of reactions. But I don't know. I wouldn't end it there. But hey, okay, whatever. Fine. It's creating some fear. Quote, the group arrived to protest, and not only that, in addition to protesting, they were also doing a little bit, only a little, of course, of antagonizing the opposite political side. Crystal Lake Police Chief Michael J. Key Jr. J. Key Jr.? That sounds like it could all be condensed into one name, right? Michael J. Key Jr. Okay, let's be honest. That does not need 3 separate fucking, instances here. I'm just being honest. Let's go Brandon hat. That's still a thing, apparently. Let's find out. A man wearing a hat emblazoned. I love that word. Emblazoned. It's emblazoned. With "Let's go Brandon." A conservative dog whistle to the polls in South Carolina on 30 October was captured in video posting on social media, swearing at poll workers who told him political paraphernalia was not allowed inside voting locations. In the video, he appears to call a poll worker a fucking bitch and said, "This is my motherfucking right to wear the hat, and they should shut the hell up and let me vote." Police say a poll worker struck the man during the altercation, causing, quote, visible swelling beneath the man's bloodied left eye. Of course, it's his left eye. The loony left going for the left eye. Am I right, people? But anyway, that's pretty much all the Guardian has. There's been a couple other instances of this across the country. But hey, I early voted. I voted early, so I am not going to be there on election day when all shit goes down. And hopefully, Jason Voorhees doesn't come home. Hopefully he stays in Florida. But I don't know. I think it's weird, personally, and this is just my opinion, IMHO, as the kids say, I think it's strange that we live in a country that is so fucking uneducated that people think it's their right to wear a hat with a political slogan at a polling place, even though it is not their right, it is illegal. I think that's strange that we live in that kind of world. But that's honestly the least of my concerns when it comes to strange activities going on in the United States of America when it comes to elections. I think it's even more strange that we've got about 25% of the country on the high end, 20% of the country, maybe 15 on the low end, that are just bat shit fucking insane. Bat fucking shit insane. The right in this country, which is about 20% of the population, not that many people. They love to say that they're half of America, but they're not. They're about 20 to 25%. They're fucking crazy, right? And they're so obviously crazy to most people that it shocks me that the main opposition party, the Democratic Party, is campaigning on, let's bring back a normal Republican Party. Huh? What? The Democratic Party is campaigning with Liz Cheney, who, by the way, is the daughter of someone who stole an election in 2000. So let me get this straight. Liz Cheney, whose dad stole the election in 2000, is now going to cry and whine when another Republican tries, and this time fails, to steal an election in 2020. And Democrats are just going to let them get away with that? Little interesting. Little interesting. So again, we've got about 20 to 25% of the country all aboard the crazy train. These guys are fucked up in the head. They got an IQ that caps out at around 7.5, right? But then the ostensible adults in the room, the people that are supposed to, actually run the government, are a bunch of pussy-ass losers that are afraid to actually say how it is. Joe Biden goes up there and calls Republicans garbage, as they are, and then Kamala Harris is like, actually, they're not garbage, they're wonderful people, they're great. Sure, they hate Muslims, and they hate black people, and they hate trans people, but they're great, let's have them vote for me, right? So I think that's weird. Now, we also live in current era, right? So maybe it's not that weird that the president would call someone garbage, and then the person running for president to be next is like, well, I don't know if I agree with that, So I can understand that there's a strategy there. However, it is true that Trump supporters are garbage. Like, let's be honest here. That's true. That's a fact. If Hillary did anything correct in 2016, it's when she called Trumpers garbage, deplorables. Why? Because it's true. And honestly, you know what? I think we need to have an honest conversation. These guys are fucking crazy, right? They're fucking insane. Let's keep going here. While we're talking about Liz Cheney. Does anyone know about Liz Cheney? Let's talk about this. It's not really that relevant to Liz Cheney. However, it's relevant to the foreign policy agenda of the Kamala Harris campaign. Kamala Harris says we'll end Gaza war in final election appeal to Arab Americans. Final election appeal, of course, right after bringing out Bill Clinton to go to Michigan. Did anyone see that, by the way? Bill Clinton, of all fucking people, the zombie, the ghost, somehow that guy's still alive, Frankenstein's monster himself. Bill ass Clinton, Epstein special guest star, which, by the way, partied with Donald Trump on Epstein's Island, so just throwing that one out there. But they were trotting out Bill Clinton last week to basically tell Michigan voters, like, hey, Kamala gets in there, she's going to kill all the Hamas terrorists. And now a week later, Kamala's like, wait a second, we're going to end the war. So, but, hey, whatever. It's a little bit of a schizophrenic policy from the Democratic Party, but hey, they're really good at that kind of stuff. In her closing pitch for the presidency in the United States, Democrat aspirant, good word, Kamala Harris has promised to end the war in Gaza. Campaigning in the swing state of Michigan, home to many Arab Americans, Harris, 60. Now, can we talk about this? Does she look 60? She does not look 60. Okay, I'm just going to say that. She doesn't look 60. That shit's insane. I'm just going to be honest. Like, what the fuck? That bitch looks like 40 at best. At best, okay? So she's on like that Brian Johnson regimen, okay? She's going full vampire. I don't know how she does it. But anyway, tried to reach voters on Sunday, disgruntled by the ongoing genocide. And of course, I'm reading this from Al Jazeera, so they're not going to mince words here. Which has killed more than 43,000 Palestinians and displaced almost the entire 2.3 million residents. Of course, 43,000 is the low end of the death toll. Again, the high end is somewhere around 250,000, maybe even, 1/3 It's really hard to say when there's really no apparatus for counting dead people, and there's also really no apparatus in Gaza for counting living people, so you can't really compare and contrast with who's here and who's not here and that kind of stuff. So we really don't know, but it's far, I would say it's at least 5 times, maybe even more, 43,000. But again, that's the last quote-unquote verifiable count. And of course, how come we haven't had another verifiable count in the last 6 months? Oh, right, because of the fucking genocide, right? So anyway, quote, this year has been difficult, given the scale of death and destruction in Gaza, and given the civilian casualties and displacement in Lebanon. It is devastating, and as president, I will do everything in my power to end the war in Gaza. Now, again, one of the things you really got to be careful here is, I will do everything in my power, Because oftentimes Democrats don't actually mean that. They're just going to say, oh, the parliamentarian said no, so I guess I won't do that anymore. And stuff like that. Now, of course, I don't like Kamala Harris. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really like this bitch. I'm going to be honest. I'm just being 100% with you. However, is she the best presidential candidate that we've had running in a general election in my lifetime? Absolutely. Absolutely. She's the best we got. Is that a sorry state of affairs for the world that we live in, that Kamala Harris, of all people, is the best we got? Absolutely. However, to pretend for even a second that voting for Jill Stein or Donald Trump or Cornel West or that guy running for the L Party, to even pretend for a second that voting for them is going to affect the outcome of genocide at all is even dumber, is even fucking dumber than voting for Kamala Harris because you think she will end the genocide? Because if you think Kamala Harris will end the genocide and you vote for her, at least there's a chance she could win. And at least there's a chance she could end the genocide. I don't think she will. However, if you vote for Jill Stein or one of the other numpties, guess what? You vote for them, and there's not a chance. There's a 0% chance. With Kamala, it's 0.0000001% chance she will end the genocide. With Jill Stein, it's 0. It's a flat-out 0, okay? And so that's why I don't really have time for this performative, hand-wringing, I'm voting for Jill Stein because I'm morally superior garbage, because you're not. You're just a cosplayer. You're a fucking loser who has no fucking idea what they're talking about. However, with all that being said, of course, when Kamala goes out there and says, I'm going to stop this, she doesn't mean that. She doesn't fucking mean that. And of course, Kamala Harris had an opportunity during the DNC to meet with the uncommitted voters in Michigan to create a deal of some kind, a promise of some kind that would have gotten that movement in Michigan to get behind Kamala Harris. And she said no. She said, fuck all of y'all. I'm going to the DNC. You know, they wanted a speaking slot at the DNC. Literally, one Muslim, at least, to have a speaking slot at the DNC. We had 0, right? So, of course, if you genuinely think Kamala Harris will do anything at all to help end the genocide, you're clueless. However, will Kamala Harris make the genocide worse is the question at hand here. I don't think so. Donald Trump says that he's already got investments, and he knows people that have got investments in Gaza, real estate, beachfront property. So if you're going to ask me to vote between Kamala Harris, generic ballot Democrat who doesn't mean a fucking thing that they say and is just trying to win an election, well, I don't even know if they're even trying to do that, versus the guy with beachfront property investments in Gaza, you know what? I'm going to go with the do-nothing Democrat over Adolf Hitler any day of the week. And again, voting for Jill Stein doesn't actually do anything. Voting for the L guy doesn't actually do anything. Voting for Cornell doesn't actually fucking do anything. You're just a fucking loser pretending like you're playing the game when your controller's not even plugged in, okay? That's what that is. And it's embarrassing to be around those kind of people. And there's plenty of them in the left-wing space. Plenty of little numpties that think voting for Jill Stein is going to somehow save the world from apocalypse. We're all going to be burning to a crisp in nuclear hellfire, and these motherfuckers, their last words will be, at least I voted for Jill Stein. Right? So again, these people are unserious. And they only exist. They are chaos agents that only exist to confuse first-time voters. If this is not your first election and you're voting for Jill Stein, you're honestly dumber than a pancake, okay? You really are. You're stupid as fuck. But if you're a first-time voter and you want to vote for Jill Stein, you're just ignorant. Best case scenario. And also dumber than a fucking waffle left on the side of the road in the worst case scenario. But the best case scenario, if you are young and you're voting for Jill Stein, is that you're ignorant. You don't know what the fuck's going on. You're 18, you're 17 maybe, 19. You don't know what the fuck's going on. You don't know what's up. You don't know what's down. You don't know what's over there. All right? You're a dummy. You're a loser. But you know what's interesting about young people? And hey, I'm going to say this. I'm old enough now that I can say this. Kids these days, they think they're so goddamn smart. Because you installed TikTok and you watch a bunch of people who also think they're smart but don't know what they're talking about, say a bunch of big words you don't know the definitions of, you know? And then you parrot the same talking points in the same exact language, you know? And then when someone asks you to come up with another way to say something, you don't know how because you don't know how to comprehend words. You know, I'm just saying, I think young people, as a former young person, pretty fucking stupid. Now, with that being said, what's a better scenario? Being stupid and ignorant with a possibility of learning and having other people's best interest in your heart, but not really expressing it in the best way? Or being old and stupid and being very happy with the idea that your political agenda is going to kill people and to cause, chaos and to wreak havoc around the world. And there's really no chance that you're going to, learn anything. You're like 40, 50 years old. You're kind of locked in at that point, right? So, again, I think kids are stupid. I was a kid. I was stupid. Y'all were kids. Y'all were stupid. However, I would much rather talk to the younger generation than talk to the older generation, because guess what? The younger generation, there's a chance that they'll actually give a fuck. There's a chance, right? So that's why I love to pick on Jill Stein voters more than Donald Trump voters, because Donald Trump voters, they're in a cult. They're dumber than dog shit. They're a bunch of old boomers, right? And God forbid if you're a young Donald Trump voter. Wow. But anyway, let's keep going here. It doesn't really matter. She said she would do something. She's not really going to do anything. Who cares? That's the end. But again, we live in Fuckville. We live in shithole USA. And I'm not a huge fan of shithole USA, to be honest. To be honest with you. Not really my thing. I'd much rather go to, shit ditch USA. Because then it wouldn't be as deep. Anyway, this is the Above It All show, everybody. I think it's interesting. My show from yesterday actually apparently got picked up by the algorithm, so I got a bunch of neo-Nazis that are watching my show from yesterday, and that's the best show for the algorithm to pick up, because yesterday's show, I personally view it as art. Maybe the best show I've ever done. Possibly. I don't know. The episode of Left Past 10 where Jake went to the gas station, that was pretty good too. But either way, shout out to the algorithm. All right, let's keep going here. What do we got? What do we got? I know what we got. We got an advertisement for coffee. I don't care where you get it from. I don't care what company you buy it from. Actually, I do, because you shouldn't be promoting the slave trade, which a lot of low quality and low price coffee beans are acquired from. But drink some coffee. It is good for you. All right, let's keep going here. Texas. Texas is rejecting federal election monitors at polling locations. Now, this is one of those Rorschach tests for how stupid you are, right? Because a lot of people are going to say, well, you see here, you listen up, liberals. You see here, back in 2020, Donald Trump was trying to get some federal election, and they were trying, and then the blue states were like, no, sorry, you ain't allowed here. So it's really a little hypocritical if you all don't let the red states monitor their own elections this time around when Democrats are in the White House. Now, that's what the low IQ folks are going to be saying, because they don't understand the difference between do-nothing Democrats and fascists, Adolf Hitler superfans. They don't understand the difference, right? So if Adolf Hitler says, hey, I'm going to put this fucking guy with a gun at your polling place, and he's got a swastika armband, and he's going to point his gun at anyone who even looks at him funny, I'm going to say, hey, buddy, a little concerning. But if a do-nothing Democrat puts their polling monitor there, and he's just some nerd, like some fucking manga nerd, he's like, oh, wow, actually, I think you should be putting the ballot in, in the other way, the orientation's not actually correct. I would much rather have that guy, right, than whoever Donald Trump's gonna throw up there at the polling place. So again, just to get that out of the way, let's read. Texas. Now, I just also want to say real quick, I am going to do an electoral map. I actually posted my electoral map on Twitter earlier, and I'm going to stand by it. It's a little insane. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a little insane, my electoral map, but you know what? I'm cruising on good vibes today, but I'll get into that later. But spoiler alert, I think that Harris will win Texas. That's what I think, okay? That's what I think. Texas's top election officials told the US Department of Justice on Friday its election monitors aren't permitted in state's polling places after the federal agency announced plans to dispatch monitors to 8 counties on election day to ensure compliance with federal voting rights laws. Now, just to be clear, that's not legal. All right? If the federal election monitors wanted to go to Texas, and let's say Texas police were like, you ain't allowed in here, theoretically, the federal officers could brute force their way in. If violence occurred and the Texas police force threatened to shoot and kill the federal officers, then the federal officers have every right in the book to do the same back. Because the federal government dictates elections when it comes to, federal law. Now, elections are run by the state, and there are state laws that govern elections. And then there's also federal laws that govern elections. However, because of the way our fuck-ass country works, the federal laws that govern elections do not encompass the entire scope of how an election functions, right? So let's say 100% is it's all of it. It's 100%. And that's the election. Bear with me. Just imagine a pie chart in your head here, okay? I'm not going to bust out my fucking markers, right? Let's say about 40, maybe 50%, and that, again, I'm just kind of guessing here. I don't know the exact numbers of how elections run are based on federal laws. Like, for example, you have to let black people vote. You cannot force a black person to take a test if they want to vote, for example. And if you go to Texas and you're black and someone says you have to pass a literacy test, that's illegal, because even if Texas's state law says that black people have to pass a literacy test to vote, the federal law saying black people should be unencumbered to vote overrides that. However, because again we live in Fuckville, the federal government, for whatever reason, has not actually just done 100%. They haven't just done a federal 50-state mandate on how elections run. So that makes states feel like they have a lot more power when it comes to these elections. And then they do garbage like this, where again, it is illegal. The federal law overrides whatever the state law is in regards to if there's a discrepancy. If the state law says one thing and the federal law says the other, the federal law wins 100% of the time. And then, or you take a lawsuit to the Supreme Court and then they change the federal law, right? So again, this is illegal. But of course, the do-nothing Democrats, are they going to do anything about this? Probably not. They're probably just going to say, hey, look how crazy those Texans are. Anyway, be sure to vote. So another fun thing about Texas is that after the 2020 election, I believe it's the secretary, it's the attorney general. The Attorney General of Texas said on a podcast, I believe it was Steve Bannon's podcast, that if he didn't cheat in the election, then Joe Biden would have won Texas. That's what Ken Paxton said live on the internet on a podcast. I'm pretty sure it was with Steve Bannon. He said that he cheated and threw ballots away by Democrats, and that if he did not do that, Trump would have lost Texas. Now, is he embellishing his role to play in Trump winning Texas as a way to garner, extra power and status within the Republican Nazi Party? Sure. However, I think it's really weird that you've got the actual Attorney General from Texas saying on a podcast that he cheated and rigged the election and violated people's right to vote, and then Democrats didn't really do much with that. That's a little weird. Let's keep going here. The Justice Department regularly sends monitors across the country to keep an eye out for potential voting rights violations during major elections. The agency said monitors would be on the ground in 86 jurisdictions in 27 states. The Texas counties are, who cares? Late Friday evening, Texas Secretary of State Jane Nelson told the federal agency that its election monitors aren't among those allowed inside Texas's polling places or in central locations where ballots are being counted. So you know what that would mean for those election monitors? Nothing. They just get to walk in and flash their badge and that's it. That's it. Because again, that is not within the pure purview of the state. The state does not get to dictate what the federal government does. Have these motherfuckers not taken a civics class? But hey, whatever. You know, just for the record, I haven't either. I just know how to read. Election day is Tuesday. Well, thank you for that. Didn't know that election day was Tuesday. A spokesperson from her office said that there is nothing Nelson can do to change who is allowed in a polling place and that they are merely following the law. The Texas Election Code lists who is authorized to be inside a polling place and does not include federal election monitors. Election monitors are still allowed outside polling places. Again, that's kind of not how this works. Quote, rest assured that Texas has a robust processes and procedures in place to ensure that eligible voters, eligible is doing a lot of work there, may participate in a free and fair, a lot of work on fair election. The Secretary of State's statement came shortly after LitGov Dan Patrick debunked social media claims about voting machines in Texas flipping votes from Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump to Vice President Kamala Harris. Quote, there's been not a single confirmation that it actually happened. Isn't that interesting, by the way? Like, you'd think that the Republicans would be unified. But for whatever reason in Texas, I feel like the Republican Party, it's kind of like, you know, playing like a free-for-all death match, you know, where there's no teams, right? And everyone's just kind of fucking each other over to try to be the last man standing or sitting in a corner waiting for everyone else to kill themselves to the last man standing. That's how the Texas Republican Party kind of feels. Like it seems like they're all trying to one-up each other in ways that I don't really understand. But let's keep going. For decades, the Justice Department has dispersed election monitors across the country to observe procedures and polling sites in places where ballots are counted. That was a power granted to the federal government under the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which outlawed discriminatory voting practices and sought to equalize voting access. After the U.S. Supreme Court gutted parts of the laws years ago, the agency now must get permission from state and local jurisdictions to be present or to get a court order. Now, again, was the law gutted? Not really. It was just lapsed. And the do-nothing Democrats could have prevented that from happening, but they chose not to. And the do-nothing Democrats could easily issue an executive order to override something like this. If Joe Biden wanted to, he could absolutely do something like that. But hey, the do-nothing Democrats aren't going to do that. Why? Well, kind of in the name. Officials in Florida and Missouri barred federal election monitors in 2022, and this year, Arkansas officials told APC News they wouldn't be allowed there. Again, they could still go there, and again, we could have a legal battle that goes up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would decide that's not allowed or whatever because they're a bunch of Nazis, but again, it would allow the election to take place with a little less insanity. But again, the do-nothing Democrats are afraid of actually exercising their power. The agency didn't say Friday why it picked those 8 Texas counties, though it will send monitors to as many jurisdictions in Massachusetts. The Justice Department has regularly dispatched monitors to Texas, including in 2022, when those monitors were sent to Dallas and other places. A group of Texas Democrats at the local, state, and federal level have called on federal agency in September to send election monitors to the state's 5 most populous counties, though it ultimately planned to send monitors to 3 of them. Now, again, this is my problem with Democrats, is Republicans will gladly rewrite the laws or pretend to rewrite the laws or just make up new laws and pretend that they're actually laws. And then Democrats will always go, oh, okay, I guess, sure, why not? And this is just another example of that. These motherfuckers, they should be going to Texas and Florida and other states, and they should be watching over the election. But of course, the Democrats, who claim they care about democracy, while, by the way, campaigning with Liz Cheney, whose father stole an election in 2000, they claim to care about democracy, but they won't actually fight for it. Have you ever noticed that? They talk a lot of talk, but when it comes to actually fighting for democracy, they're nowhere to be found. You know, like, they're just gone. And that leads to stuff like this. Republicans bring back fake electors. Now, just to be clear, fake electors, that's the term that Donald Trump himself on audio tape used to refer to the group of people that were going to steal the election for him in 2020 and install him as dictator. He called them fake electors. He also called them fraudulent electors. And then later on, you know, someone convinced them to call them alternative electors or some shit. They're doing it again. They're doing it again. Now, isn't that interesting? Wouldn't it, wouldn't it be nice if Democrats had done something over the last 4 years to prevent them from really kind of doing the same shit over and over again? That would be nice. But hey, these are Democrats we're dealing with. After January 6th, what did Democrats do? They wanted to turn the page. Don't hold any Republicans accountable. Oh, don't ever punish the Republicans. Let's turn the page, turn the page. And now they want to campaign on January 6th as if they care so deeply about the subject. Isn't that interesting? Many of the people preparing to cast votes for Donnie Trump in the Electoral College in 2024 were invited in his plot to subvert the election in 2020. Some are even facing criminal charges for it. Of the 93 Republicans designated as prospective presidential electors for Trump, from the 7 battleground states, 8 are facing felony charges for signing false Electoral College certificates in 2020. According to a Politico analysis, another 5 signed similar certificates in 2020 but were not charged, and at least 6 others played notable roles in challenging the results of a 2020 election or promoting election conspiracy theories. All told, at least 1 in 5 prospective Trump electors from battleground states this year had some connection to the scheme to overturn 2020's election. Now again, there's 3 categories of people in regards to this situation. 1, the literal same motherfuckers, same social security number, same name and everything as last time. 2, people that were not there last time but are willing to do the exact same thing anyway. And then 3, people that were not there last time and are not willing to do the same exact thing. Now, when you could go to group 2 and get a bunch of fresh faces to do this illegal scheme for you, why not do that instead of going to group 1, the guy's currently facing criminal charges for the exact same illegal scheme that you're getting them to do again? I don't know. It's a little strange to me. But hey, Republicans ain't the smartest bunch of folks. There's little reason to believe that Trump or his allies would attempt to reenact the false elector scheme. Given the prolonged criminal proceedings against the fake electors, that's another thing. How? Can someone please answer? How? On goddamn earth are these people not in jail yet? And when I say these people, I mean Donald Trump. Merrick Garland, do-nothing Democrat loser, is the worst attorney general of all time. When Donald Trump attempted to steal the election and install himself as dictator, he should have immediately been thrown in jail on January 7th. Fuck it, January 6th. He should immediately have been 25th Amendmented and thrown in garbage, in jail. I would just, Halloween ends treatment type situation, right? Lock him up forever. In a landfill, ideally. Toy Story 3 type situation. And that didn't happen. Why? Because the Democrats are a bunch of pussy-ass bitches, and they're afraid to hold Republicans accountable for the laws that they violated. So instead, they slow-walked these cases. so that they wouldn't be settled until after the next fucking election. It's insane. The Democrats are willing to just let these guys run roughshod over the entire country, and then, you know, they go out there and wonder why people don't vote for them. Now again, you should be voting for Democrats. It's the only option. However, they don't make it easy to get people to vote for them. They actually make it really fucking hard to get people to vote for them. And when the opposition is Adolf Hitler and his acolytes, I feel like it should be an easier choice. You know? But hey, you can read the rest of this if you'd like on Politico. But basically, they're setting up some garbage. And Democrats, they're talking a lot of talk, but they're really not doing much. I'm going to take a little pause from reading the news here. If anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns that they would like to send in my direction, wouldn't that be nice if you could do that? Or not. If we go into World War III, what will we do then? Probably all die, I think. Because North Korea is sending troops to train in Russia, meaning they will invade Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, we're fucked when it comes to that. Listening to music, not really. NK by far has one of the largest stockpiles of nukes, FYI. Oh yeah. The only music I'm listening to is the Pokemon Wild Encounter music on my shiny hunting extravaganza. So, I don't know, y'all. This election's looking pretty silly. I got some other stuff planned. This show might run for 2 hours, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see. Silent Hill 2 remake. I just finished. I haven't played it in like 2 weeks, but last time I played it, I had just gotten into the hospital. I like that Silent Hill 2 as a remake is also a sequel to the first Silent Hill 2. I think that's cool. If you don't know what I mean, it is an actual sequel. The events of Silent Hill 2, the original game, also took place beforehand. And you can see the evidence of that throughout the entire game, such as my favorite is the old coin box. That's my favorite so far. One thing I don't like about Silent Hill 2, I don't really like the combat. I don't know, it's too clean. You know, it's not awkward enough for me. I don't really like that. The voice acting, I think, is horrendous. And when I say that, I mean it just doesn't fit the theme. The voice acting in the original game is flawless. It's perfect. It fits the theme of the game perfectly. The voice acting in the remake is not that good. It's way too professional. The voice actor for James is really, really hard to listen to. The voice actor for Angela is really hard to listen to. And it's not like their voices, it's just the way that they talk. It's too professional. It's too rehearsed. But I've just entered the hospital. I haven't gotten any further, so I don't really know anything else about the game. But that's my review of it so far. I prefer the original by a large margin. So far. How do I motivate for my shows every day? Well, there's a reason I haven't done a daily show in over a year. So I can't answer that question. I'm sorry. There's a reason I took a year plus, I think a year and a half off of daily shows. And there's also a reason I'm only doing 2 weeks right now. So to answer your question, I don't. I don't consider streaming to be a social event in the same way as I would consider going somewhere to be a social event. For me, ultimately, I am speaking to a television screen in my bedroom. You know, now, obviously, this is like a middle of the line type situation, so it's half social, half alone. But really a big part of my social problem is like looking at people's faces. I just can't do it. So when I don't have to look at people's faces, I'm a lot more able to perform. But also there's a reason I don't really stream that much anymore, because I am a little bit of a mental defect. I'm a little bit of a nutcase. Not really that good in the mental region, and I'm trying my best to stay alive here. I think that the Potara earring fusion of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden is probably the most attractive presidential candidate of all time. Thank you, Soul Ife, for the memberships. Once again, I would recommend against giving me money unless you really are just desperate for attention. Then maybe you can give me some money, but, you know, I personally feel like there's better video makers on the internet. So, but, you know, that's obviously just my next level manipulation tactic. So, anyway, let's check out Pennsylvania. Thousands of Pennsylvania ballots will be tossed on a technicality. Thanks, SCOTUS! Thanks! I got a hangnail right now. It's causing me some concern. It's not good. Anyway, last week the Supreme Court allowed Virginia to conduct the last-minute voter purge to remove potential non-citizens from the rolls despite a federal law that seemed to bar the practice. And it refused for now to put on hold a Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling allowing some state voters who mistakenly failed to include required secrecy sleeves over their absentee ballots to vote instead of using a provisional ballot at a polling place. So basically, when you like drop your ballot off or mail it or whatever, you're supposed to stuff it in this quote-unquote security sleeve. You know? And sometimes people forget to do that. They just shove it in the action. So again, you get a ballot in the mail. Inside the envelope is another envelope plus your ballot. Okay? Then you're supposed to send the other envelope. I think in some states, anyway, you can just directly send the other envelope. But I think in a lot of the states, you're supposed to put that back into another envelope or something. So anyway, some people forget the security sleeve or whatever the fuck. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Right? The security sleeve ostensibly is just so other people don't see who you voted for when handling the ballot. You know? It's not like the security sleeve is not really a security in the form of like securing our elections. It's more like a security in the form of privacy. But hey, you know, I guess it could go both ways. But anyway, they're basically, if you fucked up at all, in some areas, maybe you put the date wrong, or you forgot the date, maybe you used hyphens instead of slashes, or vice versa, or your ones and your L's look very similar, they're going to reject you and then not let you vote on election day. So there could be a situation where, you know, you send in a ballot, realize you sent it in incorrectly, and then you want to vote again on election day. And by again, I mean one time, because that ballot on election day would then overwrite the ballot that you sent in the mail or dropped off or whatever. And they're basically saying, nah, you don't actually get to vote. Fuck you. If you made one mistake on your form, fuck you. You don't get to vote anymore. And I think that's a little weird. I think that's strange, personally. But perhaps the most important thing the court did in relation to the 24 elections came 2 Supreme Court terms ago and was more indirect. Its actions could be costing thousands of voters the right to vote in Pennsylvania and elsewhere. On Friday, the Supreme Court put on hold a lower court ruling that could have prevented the disenfranchisement of thousands of PA voters who cast timely mail-in ballots, but with incorrect or incomplete dates. So incomplete basically means you say November 1st instead of November 1st, 2024. Or in some states, you say November 1st, 24 instead of November 1st, 2024. You know, in some areas, they'll force you to do 2024. In some areas, it'll just say it'll force you to do 24. And then in some areas, you can do either one. right? And so basically what they're saying is if you got the year wrong or forgot the 20 or something like that, or you're fucked. Fuck you. You don't get to vote. The Pennsylvania court may well have acted out of fear of violating the U.S. Supreme Court's 23 ruling in Moore v. Harper and the independent state legislature theory. This fucking shit again. Moore may be deterring other state courts, too, from appropriately protecting voters more aggressively under the state constituents. And this is the other thing. Again, the do-nothing Democrats, as much as I love voting for them, Kamala Harris, 2024, the do-nothing Democrats hate to actually protect your right to vote. You know, Democrats are like when you're watching a movie set in the 1980s, and it shows a shot of a police station and there's some fat fucking cop eating donuts. And then, like, they get a call to go do somewhere. There's a robbery in progress. And they're like, oh, fuck. Do I have to? And then they, like, try to run out the door. And then, like, they fall on the ground. Oh! And then it makes a cartoon falling sound. And everyone goes, ah, ha, 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 ha. Right? That's basically what the Democrats are. Okay? That's pretty much what's happening. The Pennsylvania legislature has failed to step in and change this terrible law. By the way, I'm reading from Slate.com. I always enjoy reading articles from people who have, like, they feel like they're actually a person with an opinion on things. You know, you could call them op-eds, but to me, this is just objective reporting. So voting rights lawyers have gone to court to challenge it. A federal challenge arguing that the law violates a part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, barring disenfranchising voters for certain immaterial errors so far, has failed. The Supreme Court will decide after the election whether to take the case. Oh, very convenient. So, if Trump loses, they're going to make a different decision. If Trump wins, they're going to make a different decision. Whatever decision helps get Trump in office, that's what they're going to go with. And they're going to wait until after the election so that there's just different buckets of ballots that they can turn on, or like in how they stole the 2000 election. For those of you that don't know, Republicans lost both the popular vote and the Electoral College in 2000, and yet they became president. Why? Well, they cheated. Secretary of State and the governor of Florida basically said, you're only allowed to count the ballots that are the best for Bush. And then after the election, there were many different journalists and many different outlets that did many different independent counts of all these ballots and all the ballot groups. And under every single fair ballot counting process, if you were to count all the ballots properly, Gore would have won. And then there's many different ways that they would have found that basically Gore would have won in every single scenario, but for the ones that the Republicans used in their election meddling and how they cheated and allowed Bush to become president. And Democrats just stood aside and said, hey, you cheated, but we'll let you have it anyway because they're a bunch of do-nothing morons. And now the daughter of one of the premier election cheaters is now running with Democrats. And Democrats don't have a problem with that. That's a little strange. A little fucking weird to me, but hey, whatever. No one listens to me. But the treatment of these timely ballots, starting from here, also has been challenged as violating the, quote, free and equal clause in Pennsylvania state constitution. Every state constitution provides some protections for state voting rights. And with the federal courts reading U.S. constitutional protections in increasingly stingy ways, state courts and state constitutions provide a promising alternative path to protecting voters. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, however, has batted down every attempt to get it to take up the issue on the merits, both through appeals in cases coming from lower courts, as well as an attempt to get the court to take up the matter directly. The most recent denial came on Friday, when the court put a hold on lower court rulings, holding yet again that the matter violated the state constitution. Again, the do-nothing dumb fuck Democrats and their entire legal apparatus are a bunch of scared of their tail, scared of their shadow ass motherfuckers, okay? So you can read the rest of this. It just goes into to a little bit more detail on how we got here. Of course, the Supreme Court. Who was on the Supreme Court, by the way? Right? People that were placed there by someone who stole an election in 2000. And then people who were placed there by a fucking Adolf Hitler wannabe in 2016. Who won in 2016. So George Bush stole an election and stacked the bench. And then Donald Trump in 2016 won by a hair and then stacked the bench. And Democrats are doing nothing about it. They had a trifecta in 2021, did nothing about it. Why? Because they don't actually give a fucking fuck. It's a little unfortunate. I would go as far as to say, sad. But hey, who am I? I'm just some dummy. Once again, I would like to remind everyone, so far since I started doing Above It All again on November 1st, I have lost 12 subscribers. I'm currently going for 15. If this show triggers you or upsets you in any way, shape, or form, feel free. In fact, feel compelled to unsubscribe. The sooner, the better. Thank you. Hopefully we can hit our unsubscribe goal for today. Currently at minus 12, going for minus 15. Only 3 more, guys. Hit that sub button, please. Assuming you're already subbed. Anyway, Donald Trump's been saying some weird stuff at his rallies. But before I get there, I want to take a moment to talk about a website that I enjoy. You might not enjoy it, but I enjoy. A website called Polymarket. Has anyone heard of this? It is a cryptocurrency gambling website that is illegal to use in the United States. And I love it. I enjoy it. I love gambling cryptocurrency on whether or not Donald Trump will say hell 15 plus times, which I made some money on. And on Polymarket, in fact, let me see if I can just bring this open here. I want to give you all my Polymarket conspiracy. All right. Got a Polymarket conspiracy here for you. So, if you go on polymarket.com, you will see the most popular market is the presidential election winner of 2024. Now, this is new here. Now, you may have seen this for a while, okay? What happened with this? You might see like, whoa, Donald Trump hit 66. Elon Musk basically spent millions of dollars infusing crypto into this website, injecting a bunch of money into Donald Trump's betting odds as a way to manipulate the stupid user base of Polymarket. About 90% of Polymarket's users are right-wing morons that love just giving their money away to smart people. That's why, in my opinion, if you're a leftist, you should be on Polymarket to take their money from them. That's my opinion. Anyway, so Elon Musk basically bought a bunch of shares, juiced the numbers up, right? If you can look at this, let's look at the 1 month chart, right? So it was neck and neck here. And then Elon Musk spent millions of dollars juicing the numbers. And then that caused, this is a classic pump and dump, by the way. It caused all the dumb fuck dummies on Polymarket to go, now's the time! Trump's gonna win! Right? And so I imagine Elon Musk probably had all of his anonymous accounts basically set a bunch of sell walls at around 67 cents. Because isn't it interesting that it didn't really get too far above 67? And then Elon Musk, I don't have this brought up here, but Elon Musk on Twitter said that Donald Trump's going to hit 69.420 on Polymarket, guys. He's going to hit 69.420 on Polymarket, buy the shares, so that he could bait people into buying the shares at his sell wall. And then, what do you say? Lo and behold, as soon as that happens, the market comes tumbling down. Now, because I'm smart, unlike most people, of course, I knew that this shit was too good to be true. So what I did is I purchased a metric fuckload of Kamala Harris shares at 33 cents. Because I don't think Polymarket will pay out if Kamala Harris wins, but I guarantee you I can sell Kamala Harris will win the presidency for higher than 33 cents. So I bought a metric fuckload at 33, and I'm kind of just cruising right now. My plan is to set a limit sell at about 49.9 cents on election day. It's already there, actually. And that'll probably hit because of FOMO. So anyway, not just to brag about my genius financial decisions. This was added here at the top. And this part is really funny to me. This part is really funny to me. Because my opinion is that Elon Musk juiced the numbers on Polymarket because it's going to be used as a way when Trump loses the election, they're going to say, but look, on Polymarket he has 65% chance of winning. It was a fake, stolen election. And so I think Polymarket, most operated by Peter Thiel, by the way, is going to go along with that. And they're going to resolve this market to Trump no matter what. That's my opinion. That's why I placed the sell order for election day FOMO. Okay? So, the reason why I believe that is because of this. It says, read the rules. The presidential market resolves when the Associated Press, Fox, and ABC all call the election for the same candidate. Notice, Fox is in this list. Interesting. In the unlikely event that that doesn't happen, the market will remain open until inauguration resolved whoever gets inaugurated. If you would prefer to trade the market that is resolved solely based on who gets inaugurated, set to happen on January 20, you can visit that market here. So they made a separate market for who's actually going to assume the presidency. Because I guarantee you they are going to resolve this market to Trump. I would be shocked if they did not do that. And so I think that that's really funny. And again, a lot of people are talking about Polymarket on the left, but I don't think I've seen anyone talk about Polymarket who actually uses it, and I've used it for several months. And I'm also one of the only people in the left-wing space who doesn't reactionarily turn my brain off when cryptocurrency is mentioned. So I thought I would give you guys a little bit more of an intellectual, well-informed, well-educated take on it. But again, most of the user base of Polymarket are Nazis, and historically, Nazis are really dumb. So I think if you are a leftist and you know how to use a VPN, you should probably consider going onto Polymarket and scrape some free cash, because these dummies are dumber than dog shit. All right. So one of my favorite aspects of Polymarket, and this is my segue, by the way, is that you get to bet on what Trump will say at rallies. So one of my favorites is I love to bet on stuff like hell or big or rig. I love to bet on MAGA. You know, easy money, easy money. But let's ignore betting on rallies here for a moment. By the way, how cool is that? We get to bet on what Trump will say, and then also Trump's kids probably bet on Polymarket, so they're just going to get him to say certain things. That's really cool, by the way. So if you just have any idea how to use the internet, you can basically win every time, unless he refuses to say Comrade Kamala, and then, hey, that's a whole separate story that I've told before. But Trump's rallies have been getting pretty fucking insane. Okay, it's a little strange. And there's a clip here I want to share with you. Trump says at a rally, well, I don't know what he says. Let's find out.
Our country, the day that
I gotta fucking boost the audio here because twitter.com sucks balls. And not in the good way, which is not that difficult to do, so they should really practice. All right.
I left. I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well. We had such a great. So now, I mean, every polling booth has hundreds of lawyers standing there. It's all about the lawyers. Everybody's standing lawyers. Nobody should have that. Our country.
I'm just gonna play it again.
The day that I left, I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly.
What? 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 This motherfucker's going out there saying he should not have left the White House. Days before the election, he's going out there and saying, I shouldn't have left. Like, and this, we're starting off slow here, okay? We're starting off slow here with this shouldn't have left stuff, because it actually gets worse than this, if you can believe it. But like I said, over the last couple months, I've watched a lot of Trump rallies. Over the summer, I enjoyed heavily betting on Polymarket and watching every Trump rally every night. I was getting drunk, getting high, and making money on Polymarket and losing money. Hey, I'm going to be honest, I haven't won everything. I've lost a couple things. Some time ago, Donald Trump stopped saying Comrade Kamala, and that was one of my gravy trains. And then I lost a lot of money when he stopped saying Comrade Kamala. But that's a whole separate story. Still not over it. But Soul Life in the chat says, disclaimer, you're using a VPN because it's illegal in the US, but your wallet is tied to you. If you're stupid, your wallet is tied to you, as well as bank account. Bank accounts aren't used on... You don't use a bank account on Polymarket. If you're dumb, your wallet is tied to you. If you're smart, like myself, your wallet's anonymous because you know how to use cryptocurrency. So, disclaimer, Soul Life doesn't know what they're talking about. So anyway, let's keep going. Donald Trump, if you can believe it, still alive, and is... I'm just going to play this one.
I have a piece of glass over here, and I don't have a piece of glass there. And I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind that.
So, okay, I know that this isn't new. This guy's been threatening the press forever. I understand that. But again, days before the fucking election, Donald Trump is going out there basically saying, shoot the fuck out of the journalists. Days! Days! Not even days. Like 2 days. Really. I mean, it's still days. But why is Donald Trump saying all this outrageous ass garbage? Okay? Because, one, Donald Trump knows he is going to lose. He knows he is going to lose. Two, because he knows he is going to lose, he knows he's going to cheat. And so, therefore, the election has nothing to do with votes. Three, if he cheats, which he is going to do, he wants his loyal foot soldiers to be as energized as possible. That's why he did the Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. He wants to energize the base because he knows he's going to lose, and he wants the base to be as hyped up as possible so that they can commit crimes on his behalf. That is why he's going out there threatening the press, threatening Liz Cheney. He did that earlier, saying Liz Cheney should get shot. He is threatening certain individuals. He's going out there basically saying he's going to win already. He's basically telling people he already won. And he's doing these bizarre super right-wing rallies just for his base so that they're as hyped up as possible, because he doesn't actually give a fuck about winning over swing voters. He doesn't actually give a fuck about engaging in a real argument of ideas. That's why he's afraid to debate, because he's a little crybaby bitch baby. Right? So, I don't know, man. To me, when I see this clip, and when I see the one where he says he shouldn't have left the White House, what I see is him admitting he's already lost and he's already on the next step. That's what I see. But hey, the do-nothing Democrats are just gonna wait until the last minute here, I guess. But it's not all bad news at Trump rallies, because here we have a great one. I'm gonna play this clip.
For 9 years, we've had the biggest rallies in history of any country. And every rally's full. You don't have any seats that are empty. You don't have anything yet. I mean, the one we had today, you missed a beauty. We could have filled that place up 20 times. I mean, that was beautiful. And the Virginia rally, did you hear about the Virginia rally? That was on. Glenn Youngkin did a great job, the governor of Virginia. And they had a crowd there that was incredible. And then we came here, and we don't want to be late, but a few minutes. talking to them. We've had tremendous success. In 2016, we did.
This is my favorite part. When the camera gets people leaving the rally, it's really good.
Phenomenally, right? We went in, they said they gave us a 3% chance, and sort of like amazing, right? 3%. That means 97% for crooked Hillary and 3% for me. And I was saying, well, I went to Iowa.
So anyway, that's a funny ass clip. I had a lot of fun watching that. But again, I feel like the reason he goes as far as he does to lie to the audience and say that there's no empty seats, even though there's very clearly empty seats. Now, if you look, watch these guys in the background. They start looking at the empty seats.
And every rally's full. You don't have any seats that are empty. You don't have anything.
Like this guy, look at this guy. He is scanning. He is literally, this guy right behind Donald Trump is looking at all the empty seats. As Donald Trump is saying there's no empty seats and that no one is leaving. He is looking, this guy here is looking at everyone leaving and seeing all the empty seats. And the reason Donald Trump does this, again, I hate to say it, literally 1984. Because if you can get your guys to fundamentally believe wholeheartedly that 2 + 2 = 5, you can get them to do anything. If you can get someone who goes to a Trump rally and then sees the empty seats, sees everyone leaving, sees how everyone is actually not that engaged, and then they leave the Trump rally and say that the Trump rallies are packed, they're full, right? Again, literally 1984. He's doing that because it further entrenches you into the cult, okay? If you are willing to say that the emperor has clothes on when he's clearly naked, guess what? Hey, you're going to make it assuming that emperor stays in power. If that emperor does not stay in power, hey, you're going to look like one hell of a goofball. And anyway, there you go. But yeah, not so good. Soul Life says, how do you get the money, or rather, how do you get it to fiat? First of all, who says you need it to be in fiat? I can buy stuff with cryptocurrency. I can buy stuff anonymously with cryptocurrency. I can use cryptocurrency to make more cryptocurrency. Very easy. So that's one thing. And also, in order to get cryptocurrency to fiat without being tracked, you use what's called a tumbler. You send shit to one thing. It's like, spits it out, spits a bunch of different shit in a bunch of different locations. Or you use a cryptocurrency like Monero as a transfer through, which has privacy and you cannot see wallets. So, But I've been in the crypto space for a long time. I've got a couple wallets that are not connected to me in any way. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Again, it's also illegal. So to use a betting market, but I'm not using it. I have a friend and they're doing all the bets for me. It just so happens they're not American. They asked me, hey, you're American. You know what's going on. What do you think? And then I tell them what I would bet on. Aomine, some anime-ass name there. Thoughts about Kamala saying she is black when she does have mostly Indian ancestry? I mean, I say I'm Italian and I have mostly Polish ancestry. I'm like 1/3 Italian, 1/2 Polish, and then the rest is German. But I'll still identify as Italian in certain instances. So my thoughts? Yawn. Come up with something better. Now, I know. You've been here for a while, buddy. I'm sure you found my videos from the algorithm or whatever, and I know you're a Trumper. Like, come on. I'm amenable. I'll play the game with you. I'll play the game where you ask stupid questions you already know are stupid, and then I respond and go, I'll play the game, but come up with fucking something here, okay? This is like... It's not good. Let's just put it that way. Soul Life, I don't know if you know this, but you can buy things anonymously on the internet. I Okay, and now I think we're getting a little too far into I don't think I can go any further, but anyway. I don't have any more articles set up here, so this is just going to be free for all on the election. Actually, yeah, let me set up my electoral map. This is the electoral map I posted on Twitter. Do I genuinely think that this is going to happen? Maybe. I'm trying to scroll down to when I posted this fucking shit. And I'm chronically online, so here it is. So, do I think that this electoral map is going to happen? You might be saying, what electoral map? I'm talking about this one, dummy. Do I think that this one is going to happen? If you were to ask me to bet money on this electoral map, guess what I would do? I would not bet money on this electoral map. Okay? I would absolutely bet $0 on this electoral map. Not a chance in hell. Okay? But I think it's going to happen anyway, all right? I'm not very confident that it's going to happen, but I think it's going to happen. So, a couple people might be seeing this, and they might go, wait a second. Texas? That's the first one you might think. Texas? Now, like I said earlier in this show, the AG of Texas said in 2020 that Biden would have won Texas if he didn't, like, throw out a bunch of ballots and cheat so that Trump won Texas. If he says that, there's two possibilities. One, he is embellishing his role so that he can elevate his status within the Trump network. Or two, he's actually onto something and maybe things are a little bit, closer to the edge than we thought. All right? Now, a couple people might be thinking, Ohio? Blue? But what about J.D. Vance? And I say, great, I'm glad you brought up J.D. Vance. Because when people voted for J.D. Vance into the Senate, they didn't know who the fuck he was because he campaigned by basically not campaigning and just being a Republican, okay, in a pretty red state. And Ohioans have voted for Democratic senators in the past, okay? And now J.D. Vance is going on TV all the time saying the most insane, dumbest fucking shit you could imagine. So, in my opinion, Ohio will go blue because of J.D. Vance. That is my opinion. Okay, now, Iowa, the Seltzer poll. Let's be honest here. Come on. We're hoping it is real, okay? Someone out there is named Seltzer. I love Seltzer. So I'm all in on the Seltzer poll, okay? Wisconsin and Michigan. Now, these ones, let's just be honest. I'm a little nervous, especially Michigan, all right? You got a lot of people in Michigan who are not a big fan of Kamala Harris. Let us just put it that way, okay? So, is she going to win Michigan? Yeah, I fucking think so. Why? Well, because Donald Trump is so goddamn unpopular, and he is such a loser, and he is so off-putting that even though Kamala Harris is a part of an administration committing a genocide against the Palestinian people and against Arabs at large, I still think that she is going to be able to eke out in Michigan, even if they have a large Arab population. That's my opinion. I think Donald Trump is such a loser, and he is repellent to the average person, okay, that I don't think Wisconsin and Michigan. I think Wisconsin is more up in the air than Michigan, even though Michigan has more of an Arab population that would be very upset about the genocide in Gaza. Pennsylvania. Now, I was not sure about Pennsylvania, okay, until the Puerto Rico affair. And then I found out that there's 500,000 Puerto Ricans that live in Pennsylvania. And then I saw a bunch of polls that came out that said about 80% of Puerto Ricans support Kamala Harris. So you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Pennsylvania. All right. I'm just giving you my thoughts. All right. Georgia. You know what? I don't know about Georgia. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Georgia's probably going to go red, but I think it's funny if it goes blue 2 times in a row, and then people are going to say it's a blue state from now on. So I'm just going to wish cast that into existence, okay? I'm just going to hope that that's true. I really don't have any other argument, okay? Abortion, I guess, but really, I mean, that's an argument everywhere. It's nothing specific about Georgia. North Carolina. North Carolina is interesting. So I used to live in North Carolina. I know everyone there is dumb as fuck, okay? North Carolina is one of these, like, fucking, we're going to vote Democrats into the governorship, and then we're going to vote Republicans for the presidency. It's a schizophrenic state with a bunch of stupid-ass motherfuckers. Total dumbos, okay? However, the Republican gubernatorial candidate there is so bad. He's so fucking bad. That I think he's going to cost Trump the actual election. I really do. Because the gubernatorial candidate, Mark Robinson, basically tied himself to Donald Trump. And then it came out that he was like on like some like I guess like a black dating website talking about how like Adolf Hitler is awesome and stuff, and how he had like an affair with his sister-in-law. And then Donald Trump said afterward he's a great guy. So you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that North Carolina is going to go Democrat. Now again, I know, okay, this is hardcore hopium. Okay? Hardcore. I get it. All right, I have got an IV drip installed into both of my arms, full of 98.7% pure refined copium and hopium, both, one in each arm. So, people are going to wonder, what about Nevada and Arizona? Now, Nevada, I don't know, man, could go either way, but fuck it, it's funnier if it goes blue. Arizona. The reason I have this going blue is because I bet money on Polymarket that the Democrats would win Arizona. So you bet your ass I'm going to put it into my electoral map. I think everything else kind of speaks for itself here. But that's my hopium-infused electoral map. Okay? Will we see this electoral map tomorrow? Absolutely not a chance in hell. Why? Because a lot of these states are going to take a long time to actually tabulate the final vote counts. Now, what I think will happen tomorrow is that Donald Trump will have a red mirage type situation, which will result in him being slightly ahead midday on election day. He's going to go out on television. Like I said last year, the fact that Donald Trump waited until 3 a.m. to declare victory when everyone was asleep, total disaster play. If he goes out there at like 6 o'clock, right, and says, frankly, we won this election, and he's like somewhat up or it's even 50-50, that's going to be a lot more effective, right? But I do think, this is also assuming Donald Trump's guys in all of these states don't throw out ballots, burn ballots, or destroy ballots, or set aside ballots. The Supreme Court doesn't decide to just throw away entire chunks. This electoral map hinges upon Donald Trump not cheating in this election, okay? That is what it hinges upon. But I also simultaneously believe Donald Trump will cheat in this election. So that is why, again, I would not bet money on this map. But if you were to say, this is the election, no cheating, this is how, like, if there's no cheating, this is how I believe this election would go, okay? However, there's a reason why I'm doing 2 weeks worth of shows when election day is tomorrow. Because I think some fucked up shit's going to go down. And it's not going to be that easy. But I think hopefully in a month from now, if all goes at least not disastrously, I think within a month from now, we could have an electoral map close to something like this. All right? So that's my hopium. You know, stuff like Texas, you know, hey, I'm not all the way in there, but I'm 51%, all right? And all you need is 51% to win. Am I right, people? So, that's my theory. Let me know what you think. If you got any disagreements, let me know. Am I betting on the outcome of the state votes or the election results? It's pretty much where the electors go. And we all know how that is, but... Anyway, tomorrow I will be streaming on twitch.tv. I will be doing a, what is biannual, but like instead of every 2 years, it's every 4 years? I don't know. I'm doing my every 4 year Ancient Aliens playthrough / speedrun on twitch.tv. It'll take about 4 or 5 hours. That will be live tomorrow. I'll start that stream maybe, I'm not going to give you an exact time, somewhere around noon, 1 o'clock. And when that stream is over, I will then start a YouTube stream that will basically follow the election as the polls start closing. So maybe around 6-ish is when the polls start closing in some of the Eastern time, I should say. So that's when polls start closing. Maybe 6, maybe 7. It depends how long it takes to like make dinner or something like that in between the two streams. But that's what I've got planned for tomorrow. I don't know how long it'll go into the night, but that's the plan. So get your ice cream, get your chips, get your sodies, get your weeds, get your beers. Hey, maybe get something else too. And get ready to plop your big fat booty in your seat and watch this fucking horseshit from the comfort of your own home. Because obviously everyone in my chat are politically active. They early voted, right? You're not going outside tomorrow. You're not going outside tomorrow. Come on. TCAS, Texas won't go blue. Arizona won't either. The rest looks good. Hey, I have admitted, okay, Texas, I'm coping hard. I agree. I agree. It's probably not, but again, I'm going to wish cast. Arizona, I got a couple $100 riding on Arizona, so I'm going to throw it in there just for what little propaganda I can have to affect the election outcome. I suggest that people be cool like me and do canvassing and calling. I will not be doing canvassing, and I will not be doing calling. You know? But Actual Cloud, thank you for that. You know, Actual Cloud is definitely our resident lib. And in this instance, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, you should be doing that. I'm not. Why? Well, I got social anxiety. And also, let's be honest here. Okay, let's be honest here. If someone knocks on your door, you open it up, and it's trannies for Harris, and you're a Trump voter, hey, I'm just being honest. I know what my limits are. You know, if I'm knocking on someone's door, trannies for Harris, it's not going to go well. I'm not really going to move the needle here. Let's just be honest here. So I'm staying at home. I'm doing a live stream. I'm playing video games. All right? You can go out there with your privileged ass and go canvass in Trump Town, all right? So it's not happening for me. But yeah, that's pretty much my show for today. You know, I feel like, this is a big day. Not tomorrow, but today specifically. This is like the last day where you can lock in a prediction, or lock in some pre-election statement that, you'll hopefully clip and link back to later. But really, I think I've said everything. I mean, I guess one thing I'll mention here, just because it didn't fit anywhere else, I think it's a damn shame that Democrats, of course, are running on the idea that they solved the coronavirus pandemic when they didn't. Right? Trump's coronavirus strategy was to cover it up. He failed. Biden's coronavirus strategy was to cover it up. He succeeded. So I think it's very, very insulting to reality that Kamala Harris is going out there saying, we've solved COVID, the pandemic's over, it doesn't rule your lives anymore. Well, the pandemic is actually the worst it's ever been. Disability rates are at an all-time high. Active infections are at a near local time high. Again, it fluctuates based on the season, but again, we're entering winter, so it's going to get a lot worse, right? The IQ drop, just look at students, for example. Those students are often measured with standardized testing. So you can see an IQ drop among the student body, the student population, and that we know that COVID, every time you catch COVID, it reduces your gray matter in your brain. It literally reduces the size of your brain. It creates holes in your brain, and it fuses your brain cells together. All of those things make you dumber, right? So if we know the kids are getting dumber, right? And we just don't have data on the adults. And we know that the same virus that's making kids dumber is also affecting adults. So I think it's insulting the Democrats are running on solving the COVID pandemic after having successfully enacted Donald Trump's policy of covering it up. TCAS says COVID isn't something that can be fixed by any party. I agree with that. However, again, my problem mostly is just with them claiming victory. It's like Trump claiming victory over the election. He's just lying. It's like when Pete Buttigieg claimed victory in Iowa. He's just lying. You know, claiming victory over COVID when it's the worst it's ever been now than when you took office, it's called lying. And that's a problem for me. TCAS, first time I've come across your channel. Where am I from? You come from Michigan, but currently living in Red Pit, South Carolina. I will not say where I'm from. I have been the victim of right-wing violence. I've been swatted. Hey, you saw Nazis come into my stream earlier and post racial slurs. So I will not be telling you where I'm from. I know the Nazis are watching, so sorry. But I'm from the United States. You know, I was born in New Jersey, and I lived there until I was 17. So outside of that, I lived in Washington, D.C. for a while. So, you know, outside of that, I don't know where the hell I am. I'm somewhere. Gary DeForve says, I am not a cool person. That's true. Sandy says, I am still not home, but the drive sure was a hell of a lot better with you. Well, you should not be texting and driving. So, you know, hopefully you pulled over. And also, I should say, on Wednesday, there will be a Left Past 10 show where, you know, Environmental Coffee House, What You Can Do, or What Can You Do? It's one of those. And the Letter Hack and myself, we are all doing a show Wednesday night at 10. I will also be doing an Above It All before that. I might even do Above It All at like 8 and then like transfer it into Left Past. Would anyone want that? Just throwing it out there. If I did my show at like 8 or like 8:30 and then we just smoothly transitioned into Left Past 10, would that be more fun rather than 2 separate streams? Just throwing it out there. But yeah, once again, I will be streaming the Doom game Ancient Aliens on my Twitch channel tomorrow. Ancient Aliens came out around election time in 2016, so I played it around the election in 2016. And now I just play it every election because, you know, I got a lot of mental illnesses and I love having bizarre rituals around video games, so that's one of them. Check it out. Corvid24, they mix bird flu with COVID. Well, I'm telling you this. Not financial advice. A stock that I am a huge fan of, Novavax, is heavily down because there's a general stock market decline, which happens a lot, usually before elections because the market doesn't know what's happening, you know. But I personally believe we're going to see an H5N1 pandemic either next year or the year after at the absolute worst. And Novavax is the best vaccine for COVID. So I'm just saying, I'm a Novavax shill, you know. Karl Marx was a stock trader, and I'm following in his footsteps. So, I just started a gaming channel. I have several anxiety, so I don't talk in my videos. Now, I feel you. The only reason I can do this is because there's no one here. Also, if anyone is new, let me just share. I am one of the best. One of, not the best, but I'm not the worst either. Doom speedrunner of all time, and I have another channel where I post all my Doom speedruns without talking, because I too have social anxiety, and I go months at a time without doing shows like this. So, if you like Doom, if you like speedruns, hit it up. We got Bela cringe posting in the chat. What's your problem, buddy? What's your fucking problem? Give me a fucking break. People want me to do a call and show again tomorrow, but I don't know. There's going to be so many shows. Well, why not? do like 30 minutes, an hour, tell people ahead of time. Why not? I don't know. I can think of why not. There's a lot of other stuff to do. That's a good reason. I had swine/avian flu in 2011. Still not entirely sure I survived that. Actually, you're still in your death hallucination. Your pre-death hallucination. When you die, you hallucinate. And some people say it can last for eons and eons. I'm duped? What am I duped on, Bela? That's all? No argument? Just I'm duped? Interesting. Brian says Dems will never reverse Roe v. Wade or codify. I agree with you, but that's still, I still think you should vote for them. Because I get it. I know it's cliche, but they're not Republicans, I still think you should vote for them. But yeah, I mean, Democrats, if I were in a situation where I had to rely on a Democrat to save my life, I would say my prayers. Let's just put it that way, I watched your last episode. It was really good. See, I'm glad someone thought it was really good. Really understood the above it all thing. Very funny. And happy to hear you read 1984. I love that Jason is a Trumper who pretends to have read 1984, even though it describes how much of a cuck he is. And then he promotes the book. It's just really funny to me. It's great. Literacy. 20% of Americans are illiterate, by the way. And then on top of that, like another 25% of Americans are barely literate. Like they have like a 4th grade reading level. Crazy ass shit. I'm waiting to see how I'm duped. I hope Bela responds. That'd be cool. Once again, everybody, since I started the November season of Above It All, I lost 12 subscribers. And I'm not going to lie to you all, I am happy to announce I've lost another 2 subscribers since this show started. And once again, I'm trying to get to minus 15. I'm currently at minus 14. If you want to unsubscribe because I'm a crazy lefty loony tranny liberal, now's your time. I got a sub goal of minus 15 since I started doing this season of Above It All. So if you want to help me with my sub goal, please unsubscribe. If you're currently subscribed, press it again. If you're not currently subscribed, go to another tab and forget I exist. So 80% haven't. There was actually, I covered this on my show like years ago, but I read an article that was like something like, I don't know the number, but it was like at least half of Americans literally haven't read a book cover to cover since like high school or something. That was before COVID made everyone dumber. So we're one away from the goal. Exactly. I can't stop streaming until I hit my sub goal of minus 15. Republicans, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I don't think I can. Whoa. I don't want to have 2 shows in a row where I say something I shouldn't. Yeah, Brian, I gotta say I disagree. I agree with everything you said. I just disagree that voting Stein is doing anything. So. Gary. Chill. Chill. Will there be more live streams after the election? Yes. Will they be daily? I don't know. But will I live stream ever again after the election? Probably, unless I die in some accident. I will probably stream at least once in between November 16th and the end of my life. I will probably do it. But it's possible I don't. I don't know. Why do I think college is unaffordable? They want us stupid. I agree with you. Stein shows them that you're willing to face the consequences by pushing... No, because Brian, hey, Brian. All right, let's be real. I voted Jill Stein in 2016. All right, that was my first election. I voted for Bernie, and then I voted for Stein. So I get it. All right, you're talking to someone who's been there, done that. Right? The way I see it, I liken it to Pokemon. I love Pokemon. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon lately. I don't know if you know this. I'm collecting Pokemon. I got like 2 copies of Pokemon Silver in my background. See if you can find them. Where's Waldo? See if you can find them, okay? And so I've been there, I've done that, okay? I've evolved. I've grown since then, all right? You are your starter Pokemon. You're a level 5 Charmander, all right? Okay? That's just what you are. I am a level 25 Charmeleon, all right? I did that thing. I moved on. I learned how dumb it was. I didn't do anything. I then tried to organize with the Green Party. No one would pick up the phone because they disappeared. It was a scam. It's a pyramid scheme. The Green Party rigged their primary in 2020 to prevent a black man from being the candidate. Very strange, very interesting. I want nothing to do with the Green Party. Nothing. They're garbage. Now, if you were to say your entire argument but replace Stein with any third party, I would be slightly, very slightly more willing to listen to what you have to say. But the Green Party is objectively a scam. It's not a real party. It's like, you ever see Saw X? You know, in Saw X, when Kramer goes to the Mexican cancer clinic and then he goes back later and then they're gone? That's the Green Party. Stein Van Trump? What is? I don't even know what you're asking. Stein Van Trump. Well, I would genuinely rather you vote for Trump than Jill Stein, just because then we can have a real conversation instead of doing the proxy conversation of pretending like Jill Stein actually matters. But, Nadja says, I should have gone up to Montreal for a week over the weekend, 100% on the pandemic situation. I don't leave my house. I'm not going anywhere for any weekend. I refuse to stay in a hotel. Hotels usually have common air transfer between rooms. I take the pandemic very seriously. According to the CDC, 99.4% of Americans have gotten COVID. I'll put it this way. According to multiple hundreds of peer-reviewed studies, one COVID infection causes on average, 3-point IQ drop. Now, they have not studied subsequent COVID infections, but they found if you were infected with COVID at least one time, your IQ goes down by 3. Now, I have a lot of problems with IQ, okay? I think IQ is mostly a pretty bad system. It's racist, it's ableist, it's garbage. However, when these studies are measuring IQ, it's a proxy for intelligence. It's the one that they're using, like it or not. And so COVID makes everyone dumber. And I'll be honest with you. I take pride in being able to avoid infection because I know it makes me a smarter person. I know in 10 years from now, I'm going to be like that motherfucker in the Twilight Zone reading books with my glasses broken because everyone else killed themselves by being stupid from getting COVID 50 times a year. So, hey, I take it very seriously. I feel it. But also, again, I'm extremely privileged. I work from home, and it's just luck. I'm lucky. I don't know what to say. I'm lucky. I chose a career that doesn't require me to leave the house, and it's an incredible thing. I mean, and I feel for people that aren't in that situation. I really do. But you voted first time for McGovern. Dems withdrew support. I mean, that's a disaster. 1960s Democrats, man. Well, I mean, late 60s, I guess. Now, I totally feel you, Brian. I understand. Democrats are garbage. I just don't see how voting Jill Stein does anything. I don't see how that changes the Democrats being garbage. I don't see how, like, you're doing a great job stating the problem, but I don't see how your prescribed solution does anything to help us. That's where, but I agree with you on the problem. So I don't know how I've gone all this time and not gotten COVID at all. Well, it's because 60% of COVID infections are asymptomatic. So if you go anywhere without a mask on in public places, you most likely have been infected with COVID. In 60% of cases, you don't show symptoms. Now, I want you to think about this in terms of Metal Gear Solid or Splinter Cell, right? When you're playing a stealth-based video game, isn't it a lot easier to get inside the headquarters when you don't trip the alarms? When it comes to our immune system, sneezing and coughing are not the result of the virus. Sneezing and coughing are the result of our immune system fighting the virus. And COVID has mutated to heavily avoid getting picked up by the immune system. It is immuno-evasive. That is what it evolved to be. So that's why about 60% of cases, you don't have any symptoms whatsoever, in the sense of coughing and sneezing. Now, symptoms you may get are fatigue. If you walk up and down stairs, you may have noticed that walking upstairs has gotten a lot harder. Brain fog. You may have noticed that, it's harder to think of which word to use. It's harder to, find out, it's harder, to just focus on a certain subject, that kind of stuff. And one of the big things for me is reaction time. And reaction time is the thing that scares the shit out of me, because people flying planes have gotten COVID multiple times. There have been studies that have said that your reaction time can be severely diminished, even in cases where you don't even perceive it. So they did a study, I think it was a year ago, they did a study on, do you feel like you've gotten slower, or do you feel like your reaction time has gotten slower? And regardless of whether or not you answered yes or no, they then measured your reaction time, and it was like a follow-up to like a 1 year old, so they had like a 1 year and then 1 year plus, right? So then they compared the reaction times. And then they asked them, do you think it got faster or slower? And then they tell you it got slower. So it was basically in 100% of cases, your reaction time got slower, whether or not you realized it. And so you can see the results of that in stuff like traffic accidents. Traffic accidents and fatalities have gone up. There's more accidents, and then the accidents are more likely to cause fatal injuries and stuff like that. So, but I could talk about COVID for years. That's my favorite thing on the show, because no one else. I personally believe we live in a cult. The cult of consumerism. People would rather go to restaurants. People would rather go to parties. They would rather go to concerts than to acknowledge that there's a pandemic going on. People would rather spend all their money and give it to corporations doing these fake fun things so that they can go see Taylor Swift and they can go see the new Barbie movie rather than keeping their fellow humans safe from the plague. And it's also very convenient for the ruling class that everyone is getting sicker and sicker and dumber, because the dumber you are, the more likely you are to, get into an aggressive, fight with your fellow person and wind up in jail and lose your right to vote, or be, exploited for slave labor. The more aggressive you are, the more likely you're going to end up in prison. Right? The more sick you are, the less likely you're going to be able to revolt. That's why you're seeing protesting let's just be honest, you see a lot of protests out there without masks on. And then, if you ever follow those individuals that protest without masks on, you can notice that a week later, 2 weeks later, magically, all of a sudden, I'm sick. Right? So, in my opinion, the ruling class has basically infiltrated every single part of America with the consumer agenda. It takes place in left-wing organizations. If you bring up COVID or wearing a mask, you get excised from left-wing organizations, because how dare you talk about reality? Left-wing organizations like the DSA are big tent parties. They don't care about disabled people. They want people in their parties who are afraid of masking. And so they would rather have Republicans and people that are afraid of wearing a mask than disabled people as part of their coalition. So that's why I don't like groups like DSA anymore. Not that I really liked them to begin with. I thought they were cringe for a while, but you know. But anyway, I personally would highly recommend to wear a P100 respirator, also known as a gas mask. That's what I use. If you look at my intro video, I have a little fun intro. If you rewind the stream, there's a clip of me walking outside. I wear a P100 respirator every time I leave my house. If I walk up and down my street, I wear a P100 respirator. If I, go for a walk, through the woods, I wear a P100 respirator. If I went to vote, every time I leave the house, no matter the context, I don't care if there's anyone near me. I don't care. People might say that outdoor transmission isn't that bad, but if you've been ever walking on a sidewalk with your headphones in and some guy with a bicycle flies up right next to you, hey, that could infect you with COVID. If someone just just rides their bike real fast right next to you, hey, it's possible. So I don't want to take the chance, But also, I'm a social reject. I'm an antisocial freak. I live in the cave of my own creation. So even before the pandemic, I hated being around people. I avoided crowds, So the way I see it, this is Darwinism at play. If 90% of humans want to kill themselves to go see Taylor Swift, hey, let them do it. I'm going to sit here and play Doom. Walmart not doing 24 hours really screws me up. I used to shop in the middle of the night. Yeah, that fucking sucks. I do grocery delivery. To me, again, I'm in a privileged position of being able to work from home and having the financial availability to pay the extra charges for doing grocery delivery. But the way I see it, one, I'm giving money to people that need it, in the form of tips. And then two, it's essentially a tax. A private corporation tax against me for believing in germs, the germ theory of disease, which I believe in, and I don't mind paying a tax. If a percentage of my tax goes to people who need the money, I don't mind about that. I haven't been able to not be horizontal the vast majority of the day ever since. I got it in Feb 20 and it destroyed me already. The mess I still wear, too late. Yeah. That's the thing. The first wave, if you got hit in the first wave, I feel for you. I really do. If you've gotten hit with COVID in any other wave and you've taken your mask off at any time, I honestly think you deserve it and you're dumb. If you are like a frontline worker and you're wearing an N95, but it's just, N95 is 95%, right? So it's possible you can still get infected with even a low viral load or whatever, and you're still better off because you have a low viral load and you get infected less times. That's not your fault. If you live in a household with Trump voters or Democrats and they don't believe in germs and that gets you infected, it's not your fault. If you were forced to go to school, what happens if you don't go to school? Gangsters with guns show up at your house and threaten to send your parents to jail or you to jail if you don't go to school. So if you go to school, if you're in high school and you're forced to go to school and you get bullied for wearing a mask, and someone takes your mask off and coughs in your face because kids are evil, again, these are the victims of the pandemic. I have my ultimate sympathies to them. The victims of the pandemic are the real thing that keeps me up at night. But the abusers, the users and abusers, the people that don't give a shit and that weaponize their power and authority over others to infect them with a deadly virus, hey, those are the guys that can go straight to hell. Do not pass go. Never got COVID, never wear a mask. Now the Jill Stein voting is starting to make sense. Now it's starting to come together. You don't believe in germs. Interesting. Soul Life says, I've had people turn their head to sneeze and aim directly at me. I personally treat... Now, again, I'm just being honest with you. Am I mentally ill? Yes, I am mentally ill. I treat every single person that I interact with as if they are a zombie who is actively trying to kill me. And that is how I think I have avoided catching COVID this entire time. Now, again, it's possible I've gotten it asymptomatically, but I also have not gone anywhere without a mask since the Delta variant showed up. And the Delta variant is when it started to mutate to be more immunoevasive. Keith, real quick, I will put a pin in that. Keith says, I noticed on your map you didn't give Nebraska one electoral vote. Oversight or a reason? It's a purposeful oversight, so both. I didn't feel like clicking into the box. I was too lazy to do it. And also, it's just 1 point, doesn't really matter. But thank you for pointing that out. No one else did. What was I saying? See, this is why I hate getting interrupted. But thankfully, I've got the power of the internet here. Let's check this out. Thank you for the box. It's a purposeful oversight, evasive. And now, again, it's possible I've gotten it. That's how I think I have avoided right, yeah, so I just treat everyone like zombies. Because when you think about it, that's basically what we're dealing with. This is a zombie apocalypse, right? From the virus's perspective, if your host is asymptomatic for an extended period of time, that is maximizing the transmission. If someone knows that they're sick, they're more likely to stay home. Whether or not because of selfish reasons, oh, I feel sick, I can't do anything, or because of solidaritous reasons, like I don't want to infect my coworkers or my family, right? T-Dust pointed it out. Damn, I missed your message, I'm sorry. Fuck. Frankly, T-Dust won this election. But yeah, so I just treat everyone like they're a zombie who's actively trying to infect me. Because ultimately, what is the thing about zombies is they don't know what they're doing. And I genuinely believe that most people do not know what they're doing. They don't care to know what they're doing. They don't give a fuck about what they're doing. They don't give a shit about it, how it hurts or affects other people. So to me, when I leave the house, every single person I encounter or see in any way, shape, and form, I treat them as a zombie actively trying to hurt me. Now, again, am I mentally ill? Absolutely. Has it kept me safe up until this point? Yup. And will there be consequences down the line of having no in-person friends for extended periods of time, if not my entire life? Probably. But hey, if it keeps me from having my brain turn into fucking mashed potatoes, I'll take it. So in February 20, I caught it while in the hospital. That's another aspect to it when I talk about the victims of this pandemic, is that I have deferred all of my doctor-related stuff because hospitals, believe it or not, stop believing in germs. Hospitals no longer believe in the germ theory of disease. That shit blows my mind every time. Hospitals are actually one of the most dangerous areas you can go to when it comes to the pandemic because there's almost no infection control. Now, I use Twitter a lot to pay attention to COVID news because it's one of the only areas you can get it. And I've seen a lot of stories of nurses and doctors who actively tell their patients that germs aren't real, take your pandemic off or take your mask off, the pandemic's over, you're just anxious. And so to me, I personally view doctors, and again, I am mentally ill. I want to underscore this. I am not okay in the head. However, I personally view doctors, there are some good doctors, but doctors as a demographic, as a group, on average, I view doctors as the enemy. I think that they're authoritarians. I think that they're people that love manipulating others. And I think that they're people that don't really know that much about what they're talking about, but have an overinflated ego and sense of self-worth. That is my opinion. There are some good doctors out there. But in my experience comes from being a child who was chronically ill. For, I've said this before, but from around age 5 or 6 all the way up until I was 15, I had a chronic illness that, suffice it to say, prevented me from being socialized well, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm so insane as I am now. But my chronic illness, I had to go from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor who said, oh, you'll be fine. Come back in a week if it's still a problem. Oh, you'll be fine. Come back in a week if it's still a problem. Doctor to doctor to doctor who would just take the copay, not really care about diagnosing me with anything. It took 10 years until I found one doctor that could figure out my issue, and then it was solved. So I'm aware very viscerally, and I was a child during this experience, so I was completely powerless. So I'm aware of how bad the medical system is, and, you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell people to avoid going to the doctor if you need to, but just to be aware of the dangers of the medical system and to, you know, just be aware of how doctors can manipulate you. Oh, you pointed it out. Oh, is it on Twitter? Right. Old doctor died from COVID. He was a Trumpster. Nice. Again, that's the class of people I don't really care so much. All right, guys. And non-guys. Actually, fuck it. Fuck the guys. Only non-guys. All right? If you are not a guy, listen up. If you're a guy, get the hell out of here. Or do whatever you want. Tomorrow, around noon Eastern time, I will be streaming on twitch.tv. I will be playing a 4 or 5, if I do really poorly, hour-long Doom Megawad called Ancient Aliens. I play it every election season because it came out during the election season of 2016, and I have fond memories of playing it during 2016, so I do it every 4 years. After that, I will be doing a routine-type show like this, around 6 or 7, somewhere around there. I'll set up the stream page sometime throughout the day for this on YouTube, this YouTube channel. And we will just cover the election results. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how long I'll stream for. I have no fucking clue. I really don't. But we'll see how it goes. And then Wednesday, the day after, I will be doing another one of these shows. And then I also do another show called Left Past 10 with a bunch of goofballs. And then we'll talk about the election on that show. And then after that, it's kind of hard to predict that far out. But I do have a daily show planned every day until the 16th. Again, based on how things unfold, I might go further than that. We'll see. It's really impossible to predict. But with all that being said, thank you for watching and all that horse shit. We'll see how it goes. I'm scared. That's all I got. Very professional.